Hello, 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 hello. We have some competing noise outside, but that's why we have microphones, right? I started really paying attention to the No-Maddz when their recording Pukupu became a popular sound in Jamaica. They are a postmodern, even new age, cutting edge, yet very ancient representation of something entirely special about Jamaican music. When you hear the No-Maddz, you can hear bongo, dub, reggae, revival, among other sounds out of Jamaica. With a musical repertoire based in the live recording revival that saw weekly performances in sites such as Jamnesia, No-Maddz has carved out a new musical space that cannot be replicated for centuries to come. Be prepared to have unicorn dust fall on you in this talk, because that's the stuff of which No-Maddz is made of. They have conquered the recording studio, digital platforms such as YouTube, and they are a dramatic arts enterprise which has even staged their own theatrical production under the title Breadfruit is the New Bread Baby. I am completely fascinated with these mega talented men, and I thank you all for joining us in conversation with them. Welcome to this talk. I'm Sonjah Stanley Niaah, and we have Sheldon Shepherd and Everaldo Crary, the No-Maddz, with us. So I'm going to get right into it. It is, of course, my pleasure to be here with you both. Them are my brethren.
Give thanks.
Who understands what I've just said. They are my brethrens, okay? So with that said, who are the No-Maddz? Tell us about your formation as a group, your history.
The No-Maddz. Who are the No-Maddz? We attended high school together. Kingston College High School, that's in Kingston, Jamaica. It's called a college, but it's really a high school. But the whole philosophy of Kingston College is on a tertiary level instead of a secondary level. So the young men produced by Kingston College are usually stellar young men in society. You know, it's the best high school in Jamaica for boys, you know. Well, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is, you know. I didn't make it up, you know what I mean? So we were at KC, and in Jamaica there is football, Manning Cup, and there is track and field, and there is basketball. There are all sorts of sports. But we practiced drama, and our sport was highlighted in this annual competition produced by the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, shortened the JCDC. You can check them out when you have time. So we used to enter in the categories of dub poetry, music, sonnet, psalm, Shakespeare, standard English pieces, and we used to do it independently, individual categories, solo categories. So now, in the year 2000, 2001, 2000, there was a special category being introduced called Dub Poetry Ensemble, which is the dub poetry ensemble, speaking like a choir of boys doing dub poetry. This was unheard of, you know what I mean? So now the vibe was Peter Heslop, our tutor, he was like, you boys, you are always receiving gold medals. You need to put a group together and win this dub poetry ensemble. So we gathered at Kingston College in the canteen, eating lunch, and we gathered there. Canteen, we normally play the desk and do our dub poetry. So we wanted to create, we already knew who we were going to select the boys from, because it's only the best, you know what I mean? Only the ones who actually won a gold medal would be able to participate in this thing. So myself, Evie, another brethren called Shane Fitzgerald, and another brethren called Erocado Gale. They're not here right now. But we were sitting in the canteen and we were discussing this thing. And firstly, we wanted a name, because every good entity needs a name, you know what I mean? So we were there throwing out names. Fantastic Four, you know, but that one was already taken, you know what I mean? And Shane Fitzgerald said, it's better we call ourselves No-Maddz, because we're all over the place with our ideas. And we laughed. And then Iman was like, uh-huh. You know what I mean? And I said, yeah, nomads. Because the nomads are travelers. The nomads are wandering, but we won't wander, just wander frivolously. We will wander with a particular purpose. And our purpose at the time was really to...
Better Jamaica.
Say it louder, make them hear.
Better Jamaica.
Turn up the mic. Was to better Jamaica.
Better
it was
Jamaica, yeah.
for the betterment of Jamaica, you know what I mean? So now, we said we're going to style it a different way. NOMADS is the original nomads, the original wanderers. But because we are stars, man, and we're in performing arts, and we're in theater, and we're in drama. So the idea was to separate the N-O-Maddz, M-A-D-D, and we had a Z to it for style, you know what I mean? Because Z make everything look cooler, you know what I mean? Z, Z, you know? So that's how we started, really, and it was like we merged the two words. Because of Kingston College, we were like, no madman, not in the group. So that is why we separated. Even though we might appear mad, we're not really mad, you know what I mean? But we're kind of mad, you know?
So if we went back a little further, how do you become young men with an influence in terms of word, sound, power, as Rastas would say? So you started entering festival, but where does that influence come from, that you began with an interest in literary works, in sound?
Interesting question, because each of us have a different entry to that you're saying. For me, I grew up in a Christian home. My father is a bishop, and my mother is an evangelist, and it's a revival church. And revival, they wrap their head. It's very Afrocentric, Christian. So they wrap your head, you have message table with fruits and coconut and red striped beer that you get in the spirit and break. Yeah, so I grew up in all that. And at church, they always have concerts. And they have Sunday school, which is about studying the Bible. So I used to excel at that. I used to do well at Sunday school. I used to do well in the concert. But I didn't have any material because my parents weren't so much of a expressive set. You know what I mean? They didn't have the history of theater or acting or music. So when I entered KC in 1998, at 98 I was introduced to the drama club. And that's when my first, introduction to acting. And then we did this piece called Tijon and His Brothers. And I played the minor S. Is there such a word?
Minor S.
The minor, it was so minor of a role. It's imps and bats.
Imp, devils and bats.
One moment, and it was at the end of the play. And you run out, and it was so exciting for me. Then between 98 and 2000, I was playing cricket. And then I don't know, I saw Sheldon performing at this school, an all-girls school in Jamaica. And it was Holy Childhood. And the girls were going crazy over the dub porch, and I was like, no way. I should be right there too, So the irony is that I'm in an older class than this dude right here. And I just pop up at his class window saying, hey, I like that poem, may I have it? And he's like, who is this dude? No. No. And I ask him, I follow him around, ask him for a poem. The poem was, I think, Want a House for Living.
House for Living.
House for Living. And the thing is, my church is so strict, like heavily Christian. You would go to hell if you wear a sleeveless, much less me smoking ganja right now. It would be I'm definitely the devil. But I thought that it was a secular topic, but a very funny, interesting topic that could pass for a church concert. So I was like, bro, you're gonna bust me in the church. Give me the poem, give the poem. Until I ended up in the drama club myself, sorted out after a poem written by Michael Smith. And I did the poem, and I get to feel how the boys were, the rehearsal process. and I won my first gold medal. And I got 96 out of 100. Yeah. But it still wasn't enough. It still wasn't the highest gold. Because in that time you have to get the highest gold in the entire island to move on to the next round. So I didn't get to move on to the national level because this dude got 98. He died. His name is Lynch, Dubmaster Lynch. I don't know if you know him from LSX. And that troubled me. I was like, I can get 96 and still not move on to a next level. So I had to dig deep again. And then I realized that it was the norm and you could only get a goal unless you get 95. Between 95 and 100, that's the only chance to get a goal. And then from that, I just love it. And every year I keep entering, getting goal and getting better. Actually, my favorite moment is the year and my ear is so cool. It's like, oh yeah, is that you're massaging my earlobe now? Thank you. So, no, my memorable moment was when one year we had No-Maddz entering as a group, each of us solo individuals, and we made it to the national finals. And it's a walk away for No-Maddz to win the most covetous award, which is Best Speech Presentation Overall. Right? And I remember I was sitting behind Tanya Baxter Savage at the time. And Andrew Broadbent said, okay, for best presentation overall goes to. And then I heard from Kingston College. And I was like, yeah, we know it's the No-Maddz. Come on, this is our like second year getting this. And I heard Evroldo Crary. I was like, what?
I remember, bro.
What?
I remember that.
So for me, that was like from nothing to something.
A dream come true.
A dream
come true. So, you know, you talk about dub poetry. There's a sound. You know, one of the things I forgot to say in the beginning as I introduced you all was that you've also conquered screen. You've been in a number of movies, you know, really cutting your teeth at a number of dramatic presentations. But what would you say is your signature sound, your performance mode? Is it dub poetry? Because there's so much in your work, in your sound. How can it be limited to one thing called dub poetry? Tell us about that.
You know, you have a point. That has always been the question, you know what I mean? The major question ever since we've been practicing. Our parent material is dub poetry. And you know, if your mother is an African and your father is an African, you are African. You know, it's whatever it is, you know what I mean? So our parent is dub poetry. That is what we started out practicing. That is what we have been practicing forever. So now, dub poetry, just like you have the wheel. You have the wheel, but then maybe they were riding on stones and the journey was a bit bumpy. And they're like, how can I make this journey a bit smoother? Rubber. They got rubber and wrapped around the stone. Still a little bit bumpy. They decided to get some shocks. So now dub poetry is our stone. So now when we add the reggae influences, when we add the kumina influences, the revival influences, the jazz influences, the grime influences, you know what I mean? Various influences, it becomes a sound that we love to call the No-Maddz. You dig? So now people, the Rolling Stones magazine just said that we have created somewhat of a genre. You know what I mean? I never said it, you know what I mean? But they did in their article. And it kind of, we never set out to do that. We were just boys in high school having fun and playing with literature, playing with poetry, making fun, because even when Pukupu came into being, we were making fun of another performer who we thought was performing horribly. And and we were laughing at him. And I was like, I bet I can use his same style and make the world love it. You know what I mean? And look what happened. You know, because there's no such thing, you know, it's really delivery and believability. There's no such thing as a bad actor. None. Is really the direction and the belief, because you can have a bad actor in a movie and that's the person's persona. He's just you know that he's telling a lie. He's just bad at it, you know what I mean? So then there's no such thing. It's really how you tell the story and how believable you are, pretty much. You know what I mean?
So if dub is the parent, let's say the vehicle of your creativity, how does one create or write a dub poem?
How does one create or write a dub poem? All right. Now, this handout right here, everybody's going to get a copy of this because when we leave here, everyone are going to be dub poets. That's the idea. You know what I mean?
Yes,
that's
sir.
the idea.
Yes, sir.
So it's called Dub Poetry 101. And please don't throw it away. We went through a lot to create this for you. So keep it, frame it, whatever you do with it. So now, how you create a dub poetry? This piece, how do you write a dub poem? When you get your handout, you can turn to the second page and you'll see. It's also in the morning, yeah. And you can get these at the merch store. Just a little plug. So now, first point, research dub poets and authors by reading their works and watching or listening to their live performances or recitals. See what styles stand out to you most. Second, be inspired with a story. Inspiration is all around us. Our society influences our inspiration a lot. Third point, be creative. Open your thoughts and allow the words to come. Fourth point, decide on the rhythm and the rhyme scheme to deliver the dub poem. Whenever we do this at schools for kids, we have to explain things like rhyme scheme and all of that, all of this jazz. But I'm pretty sure I don't have to explain rhyme scheme. Okay, it's like a housing scheme. Everything is in order. Everything is in a particular order. So if you have the house here and you have the main office here and you have a field here, you probably have another house here. So it's really the order, the structure of how you lay out your rhymes in a piece, whichever piece it is, whether it's a poem, a rap poem, a song poem, whatever it is, because they're all poems. You know what I mean? And then fifth, practice the dub poem. Let it speak to you so it comes alive in delivery. That's very important about dub poetry. It's a performance piece. Dub poetry is not really paper poetry. You see me reading a piece of paper right now. I wouldn't necessarily do that for dub poetry. Dub poetry is getting into it. Dub poetry is, me feel it, you see? You know what I mean? So when you hear that kind of bellow, you actually feel the energy, the lament, you know what I mean? You actually feel the energy of the poet. So a poet can be behind a wall and the vocals are transcending and you catch the music embedded in the vocals of a dub poem. You know what I mean? So yeah, that is how you write a dub poem, pretty much.
The idea of the music being embedded in the poetry,
In
the
words.
words,
Yeah,
in the
man.
words, in the words. That reminds me. I mean, all I've been sitting here thinking about word sound power as you're talking. The ways in which, just the word is a carrier of the spirit is kind of very much what I take away from what you've been saying. So who are some of the influences for you in terms of dub poetry?
Well, for me in high school, I had to research on Michael Smith. That's his name, right? And he
Great
was
Mikey Smith.
Great Mikey Smith. And what was fascinating about him, he was stoned
Absolutely stoned to death.
in a place called Stony Hill. You're from Stony Hill. Pick up Rosina.
The irony.
Yeah. So, and I particularly liked his style. I liked his words, and I liked that he was actually at one point performing on BBC, doing like a music video style kind of performance, And then you have Okwo Nuro, who is the father of the poetry. You have Mutabaruka, you have Yasa Safari, DYCR, it goes on and on,
What about you, Sheldon?
I grew up in a household. Evie was telling you the story about how he saw me performing, but I grew up in a household. My father is actually a dub poet and a writer. So whenever other children...
I didn't know that.
You never know that, a liar tell.
Keith Shepherd,
The great Keith Shepherd.
Me know now. I know now.
You know what I mean? But that when other kids were being put to bed with lullabies and stuff like that, my father used the dub poetry. You know what I mean? So I grew up, we never had like electricity or running water or television and stuff. So we had to entertain ourselves through the arts. So my father would just do it around the house. He would tell you that he never ever taught me how to do dub poetry. He doesn't even know why I'm doing this now. You know what I mean? Because there was never a moment where he's like, this is dub poetry. You know? He was just always living and being. You know what I mean? But so dub, my father is my greatest influence, really. And then the Honorable Louise Bennett Coverley. You know, she's amazing. I love her works, you know what I mean? And others have been mentioned and all of that. But dub poetry now, it's like, we touched it a little bit, like what is a dub poem? A dub poem is really, as I said initially, it's musical words. Dub is music and poetry is words. And as you know, you saw Lee Scratch Perry earlier. Yeah man, see the boss there? Lee Scratch Perry earlier, and Lee is the inventor of dub. And what dub is take for instance, you have a full-on song. Everything is playing in its right place. What Lee would do is Lee would pull out and add things to it, add electronic sounds, add the knocking of sticks together, add various things, and made his own story from a piece of music. So then now the sound will tell its own story. And that's very important about dub sound. So now when you have dub meeting poetry now, and poetry, we all know that poetry goes deep, you know what I mean? Poetry will tell a story and you'll hear it, you'll decode something else, but that wasn't the original intention of the author, you dig? So now it's the merger of these two poetic forms, dub as in the poetry of music, scene, and then away I say, the poetry of words, you know what I mean? The poetry of words. So the merger of this it's kind of mind-blowing, you know what I mean, and mind-boggling as well. But that is why I guess I fell in love with it personally and never stopped writing, never stopped creating, you know, so that we can be here sharing it today.
The complexity of the form. Now, if you have all been here for the last, like 2 days, you would have heard me say, at least if you read the magazine, the Soul magazine, you would have seen as well, Jamaica has given the world some 6 or 7 genres of music in the latter half of the 20th century. That's in the last 50 years of the last decade, right? The last millennium. And if you think about, not the last millennium, what am I thinking about? The last 100 years, right? Century, that's right. And if you think about this little island that you can hardly find on the world map, Jamaica is this almost non-existent place unless you know where to find it. But there are all of these genres, and if you talk about dub poetry, how is dub poetry different from other musical forms out of Jamaica? How would you distinguish it?
Well, it's
and feel free to perform again so that people can kind of feel and touch and hear.
Definitely.
Wow, that's very interesting. I guess we'll have to perform it.
Hear what? All right, I'll just tell you about it. But so hear what? Originally, Niaah Bingy rhythm. Participation now. So the original Niaah Bingy rhythm, seen, is in high school we used to make fun of it as boys. You know, I guess we were a bit sexually deprived, maybe. So we were like, in Jamaica we call the female genitalia pum pum. Seen, we call it a pum pum. So when we were making this beat, we used to say pum pum, pantapa pum pum, pantapa pum pum, pantapa pum pum, pa pum pum, pantapa pum pum. Say it with me.
Come on.
Your time. Pum pum.
Pum pum. Pum pum. Pantapa pum pum.
Pum pum.
Pantapa pum.
And the word pantapa means upon in Jamaica. In the Jamaica
On top of.
On top of. On top of.
On top
So
of.
we're saying pum pum, pantapa pum pum, the original Niaah Bingy rhythm. So this was the rhythm that everyone used in traditional dub poetry. If you're not using this rhythm, people are saying you're not doing dub poetry. But that's not even true. Because dub sounds comes with its own music, its own rhythm. So play the pum pum for me. Hey! a government come here, come talk to me. Want fi know what a going in the country. Who authorize you fi lift the subsidy in them your hard times when everybody hungry? Everything a raise except people salary. Pressure.
Adjust
the pressure.
A beer fuss, a beer cuss, and them no care about us. Them never dress the wound, so it turn out in a pus. The country did bad, but now it get worse.
Boy things had a beer, gunshot a bus.
Them things that get me mad, but youths no lose the focus. Them strong go future, so them try for choke us.
High prices provoke us. Crime rises when them revoke us. We no inna them and them hocus pocus.
Them tell we beer lies, so them
I go lose with trust.
adjust the
Pressure. Adjust the pressure. Adjust the pressure. Adjust the pressure. So that was pressure, and that was the very first piece we did as boys at Kingston College. The very first piece we entered the JCDC festivals with, and the very first and only piece to ever secured 100% a perfect score in the entire festival to this day. Twice.
Congratulations.
Yeah, to this day, you know what I mean? And that was that was what, in 2000? So that's some 19 years ago, roughly. Yeah, so up to now, nobody not do that again, you know what I mean? So that's something to talk about, you know? So
and is that the year when Evie got the overall?
No.
Not the same year, okay.
The year when Evie got the overall prize, I got a prize for most creative tutor. Because that's a whole different story
that
too.
Year we're so
that year we never even had we never had a teacher, and we have done so much in the genre. People from other schools used to come to Kingston College just for us to teach them dub poetry and other class. So
parents used to
drop their kids off and their daughters off.
Wow. Talk about the pum pum rhythm.
For us to teach them, you know, why we taught them. You know, but give thanks, you know, nostalgia.
And that's so interesting because now I've seen you on Instagram, for example. I hope you all are following the No-Maddic on Instagram.
Woo!
Yeah,
I see you on Instagram and you're doing so well because you're actually, you know, really teaching people, going into schools, doing workshops and seminars with Jamaican school children in the work that you do.
Yes, thanks.
And that's really fascinating, sort of paying it forward, giving back.
Yeah, that gives me goosebumps.
Being rooted, that gives you goosebumps. Yeah, man.
That's
Big ups to the No-Maddic for doing that.
Yeah.
Because you could just be flying around the place being No-Maddic. Yeah. So if I were to ask you, you know, what do you want your legacy to be as the No-Maddic? What would that be? What's your legacy going to be?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't even know, but if I would guess, for me, it's just an attitude towards being a creative person or just an artist. You know, it's about being aware of your responsibility, of preserving your culture. You know what I mean, and also preserving the wideness of our talent. You know, if we're talented in all these different disciplines, I don't think you should be shunning any of them, because as Africans we never really separated the disciplines, you know, and that was the reason why we have Anansi and all those characters, because Anansi was not just musical, but he was very physical. It was, you know, so it was about acting, dancing, everything. So there was a time in Jamaica when especially musicians never thought it was cool to be funny, be in a comedic play or a comedic movie or do a movie, all these things. And so for me personally, I thought that kind of robbed us of where international the market is going, because, you know, Will Smith is doing everything, you know. So, and also we were, because Louise Bennett, we spoke of, was not only a dub poet, but she was a singer and an actress. And you have Jimmy Cliff, who is also an actor in Order They Come and a great musician. You have Prince, who give you Purple Rain and all those collections. So I'm like, as Africans, especially we pride ourselves in Jamaica as the most talented people that came across the whole historical slave trade thing. So I think it's very important for us to keep that attitude alive, you know what I mean? And kind of that's why we kind of feel alone sometimes, but it's growing. It's growing.
Alone because you feel that you are carrying this burden of, you know, making that change, bringing that change.
Yeah. You know. Initially, as I said to you before, we do this for fun. You know what I mean? We started out doing this for fun, and Jamaica is a very powerful place. You know, we're very powerful spot of land as well. You know what I mean? So it's like, and we have this thing where we say advancing the welfare of the whole human race.
It's a part of the Jamaican motto.
A part of the motto.
What kind of motto?
Can you imagine a motto of a country that challenges the inhabitants to advance the welfare
of
the welfare
human race.
Of the whole
the national
human
pledge.
race.
That's remarkable.
Pledge.
So then now when you ask the question to say my legacy as an individual and as a collective, you know, I would love to be known the fact that I was given tools when I came here, or I got them based on my interactions. I was given tools. I learned tools. You know, I would love to be the one to be known as the person who used these tools to advance the welfare of the whole human race. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
yes. I feel that.
You dig?
That
You know
I feel that because it's so much a part of my own intention in this world to advance the welfare of the whole human race. And might I say, I think we are doing that. I think you are doing that.
I guess.
Yeah, I think you are doing that.
I would say that's the aspiration, and once you aspire to do something, it will happen.
It will happen.
But then let's hear what the audience and the crowd has to say, because it's really the ones who tell your story.
Yes,
you know?
and we're gonna throw back to the audience to get some questions. But I want you to do one more thing. I want to show the audience your diversity. So you performed a dub poem, right? Some dub poetry, and I'm gonna make a special selection now.
All right.
I want to hear Heaven on Earth.
Whoa.
Because that's such a kind of, you know, a range. It shows the range of No-Maddz. And I feel like I need to come off of the stage now.
All right.
Heaven
on Earth.
Heaven on Earth.
So this project is brand spanking new. You see how I'm marketing. This project is brand spanking new. It's called Heaven on Earth. It is our home. You know what I mean? So then, and you can see it's our brand new album, and it was co-produced with us and Walshify of Major Lazer. So big up Walshi, and it also features Idris Elba on a track. You know what I mean? So Kumar is on it as well. If you know Kumar from Raging Fire, the ones who know familiar with Jamaica music, yeah man. Also we have the Wizard. She mixed this project, so you can check it out, and you'll hear Heaven on Earth with a full band live. So you can hear what we do with dub poetry when we mix with our musicians. So yeah man, make a go now. By the way, you see we have these props here. It's you not going to make dub poetry today, so we'll soon come into that. So
Me need to get up?
yeah man,
Here, some
you
space.
don't have to, we can sit and do it nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
alright.
man,
Stay
I
with me
mean,
please.
Okay, all right.
I love you beside me. Stay, please.
Basson. Arriba basson. Babassou. Abasson. Arriba basson. Babassou. Well, now they say there's a place in the sky where you go when you die. Some say the streets are paved with gold. Being poor will save your soul. Shaking hands with friends of old. That's the way the story's told. But no living as behold, of which the afterlife soul. So FYI, for what it's worth, I'm gonna make my heaven on earth. On earth, on earth, on earth, on earth. I'm gonna make my heaven on earth. On earth, on earth, on earth. Hey, yeah. I'm gonna make my heaven on.
Living, loving life. Breathing, making love to my wife. Ignorant of what is beyond. Ain't gonna ponder that, yeah, man. Cause after the ceremony and the rite, nobody never come back and tell you dead sweet. And there's plentiful milk, plentiful honey. Ain't got to travel with no money.
Over this side,
the jokes are funny. Boys are witty and the girls are pretty.
Pretty.
If that were the case, people full up the place. And right now, me love how
this life tastes. No brethren, me no depend no haste.
Creating my avenue, creating my space. Task to fulfilling that pace.
Tell you one more time. Open your ears, make my heaven on earth. I'm gonna make my heaven on earth. On earth, on earth, on earth, on earth. I'm gonna make my heaven on. Refuse. Yeah. Listen it. Refuse. Listen it. Refuse to live while you're living, expecting to live when you're dead. This fateful experience, when dust to dust is said, as if what we all come to know as life is not an experience, isn't it? And the life like a talent, if not used, you will lose it. Come on, man, see life there. Get up and choose it. A picture perfect heaven starts in the mind, so don't lose it. The mind is a terrible thing to waste. 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 I said the mind is a terrible thing to waste. 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 Make my heaven on earth. Oh, I'm gonna make my heaven on earth. On earth, on earth, on earth, on earth. I'm gonna make my heaven on. Rubber so. Arriba badiba baso. Rabaso. Rabaso. Arriba badiba baso. Rabaso. Preacher man, don't tell me heaven is under the earth. Love it.
Dada. Woo! Now, I hope there's no one here left with any doubt about the versatility of this group, No-Maddz.
Awesome.
Versatile, drawing on all of the ways in which Jamaica is musical in its soul. So do we have any questions from the audience?
Any questions?
Put up your hand and
here we go.
a microphone will come to you.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So thank you first of all for such an amazing performance. That was truly spiritual in its own way.
Give thanks.
So that's actually what I wanted to ask you. Do you consider yourselves spiritual beings? What does spirituality mean to you? And what's your understanding of the universe? And is there a truth you want to share that people need to hear?
Wow, that seems like another talk. That's another talk. But yeah.
That's 4 questions in one.
I tell you. If you're drinking water, so I guess him throw the question to me.
Well, I'm drinking something very spiritual too.
So, So the idea, all right, someone asked me if I considered myself a healer one day. And I usually just make up my answers as they come. So it's not like I prepare to answer a question or I ask myself these questions going along. So the vibe is now, I don't really consider myself anything, you know. Hear me out. I don't consider self as I'm a healer, or I consider that if I'm in a particular situation as a human being, as somebody who is in flesh, as flesh traversing these planes right now, if I'm here sitting with you in this capacity and you happen to be healed or you happen to learn something, my idea is just sharing my gift. You dig? So then I will always share my gift. My purpose is to share. You know, it's not like my purpose is to heal. My purpose is, oh, I'm a spiritual being, or I'm a god, or I'm a king, or I don't really subscribe to none of those titles, really. You know what I mean? I just be. You dig? So that's me personally, you know?
Yeah, personally too. I listen to all of his opinion. And the word spirituality to me is your mind. It's just some fancy words they're trying to use to just express the unfathomable nature of the mind, right? So your spirituality is just the way you think, you know what I mean? So there's no like, I don't entertain the idea of you know, you should say this is my religion, and then if it's not my religion, your religion is not perfect. And I don't entertain the separation of religions either. You should have all your religions. But what I entertain is that how can we coexist as human beings? Because when you look at the bigger picture, in the same poem or song we just did, which is about heaven. Heaven is a concept. And we have made the concept of heaven to be something that is in the sky. And we are totally forgetting and distracted from the earth itself. So that in itself is that how well are we amalgamating our energy for not just the advancement of the whole human race, but the advancement and the preservation of this earth itself. Like, people, it's like there's so many distractions, but spirituality for me is like, can we zero in on the commonality between us? And what do we need to stay alive? And if I get really simple to the common denominator, I don't know anywhere else in this universe that is as beautiful as this earth. And if you find it, because we're searching, they're going to go there and destroy that one too. You see me understand? So it doesn't matter what you practice. Just practice communion, togetherness, love. And I like peace of mind. Peace of mind is my favorite thing, you know. I get flustered when I can't find it. But I love asking, but sometimes I just disappear. But
disappear for years. In Heaven on Earth, him use a line. I wrote the piece Heaven on Earth, but Evie added a line. Evie is so special. Here, we would be here and something is already created, and Evie come in and put something on the table, something very small on the table, and it changed the entire room and the entire emotion of everyone in the room. That's so special, and I know this brother for over 20 years. I've seen his face every day for over 20 years.
Yeah, that can be annoying.
Yeah, like, it gets annoying. It gets on top of my nerves at times too. But the line is, the mind is like an umbrella, best used when open. Hence the umbrella on the cover. You dig? So now, when the man said a line there, I was in Bali when I heard and he was in Jamaica doing final touches with Wizard in the studio. And when the man sent the thing, I hear the line there. I say, where the line they come from? That's not write the line there. Where the line they come from? You know,
I don't want to stop you. When he wrote that poem, right? Because Sheffy like to lock away and write poems. And he called me and said, hear that poem here. And when he read and performed my verse, the verse that I just said, and I was like, bro, you kind of typewrite that verse. I couldn't. Oh no, it's like it's taking me over right now. I couldn't believe that he wrote some words that I would literally say.
You know what I mean?
It's like I say, yo, bro, that has to be my verse.
Yeah,
I was like, please. Like when I was at school and I had to get the
Yeah,
poem.
man.
Perfect,
Yeah, man.
perfect.
Yeah, man. So-
Anyway, continue.
But
sorry.
yeah, me finish.
You finish.
You just add the thing to the table, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes? Microphone in front. Yeah.
Yeah, so the question I want to ask, outside from dub poetry, do you have any artists or poets that you consider inspirations over the years, and how you use that inspiration to influence the way you perform?
Yeah, man. Personally, I have no influence, man. Because, all right, Tracy Chapman. Tracy Chapman, I love Tracy Chapman, gone to
Yeah,
bed.
I stole that cassette.
We said that in Jamaica, gone to bed. It doesn't mean I want to take her to bed. It's just a thing, you know what I mean? Don't. All right,
Poor
cool.
Tracy.
I think they don't believe you
They
anymore.
don't believe it. Maybe, you know, she was fine, she was flying. Oh, she played that guitar. Cool. Anyway, you know, go ahead.
Likewise, many influences. But, however, my birthday is coming up. I met one of my most inspiring artists. And he's going to perform. I think he did a talk today. His name is Mos Def, formerly known as Mos Def.
Yo,
I just saw him for the first time in life. I was like, and he was like, no, brother, no, don't do that, don't do that.
You're a strong man, don't bow to me.
He's a poet, an actor, an activist, and he's representing something that is just so human and together, and I just like that, you know? And that has inspired me over the years to just be don't want to say just like him, but he's very much a pivotal point or exemplary, that word? Exemplar. My there.
The thing about artists though, I'm particular with artists because there are some artists that I actually study, and how I study them is I just rivet their works in my brain, sit down. Bob Marley was one of them. I studied Bob Marley's works over and over and over and over and over once I was growing up. I tuned into the works of Morgan Heritage early works. I tuned into their early works, you know, groups, because we were creating a group, so I wanted to feel out the dynamics of groups felt, you know what I mean? So I was listening to the Wailers' works a lot, and but before that, you know, poets like Mikey Smith, as I said before, Louise Bennett Coverley, you know what I mean? Internationally, young people know there's this dude called Anderson .Paak. Man, Anderson tough. I like Anderson. There are others, man, but I could go on, to be honest, but I just want to pinpoint the ones that, you know, struck a nerve, so to speak. You dig?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I just want to come back about the words, because you were saying that he wrote a song for you and like basically he just said what you were thinking about. And I never really heard about dub poetry, and I really listen to reggae music, and for me there is always a message to be delivered. But do you call like dub poeters because you want to make the word deeper and to share like another kind of message? This is like really your goals, or just because of the rhythm? Because we can also say that Bob Marley was a poeter.
Exactly. That's exactly how we were going to answer that question. For true. Go ahead, Effie. You want to take it?
No, you can take it.
Okay, I'll take it. Tag. So here what we know. Dub poetry, as we said earlier, dub poetry is words and music, see? But dub poets usually speak on specific topics. Topics like society, social unrest, injustice, policies and politics, sex is also, but it's really sex done in a romantic, beautiful manner. How dub poets enunciate their sexual prowess and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Like, yes, so someone say, this is a very sexual dub poem you're gonna get right now. It's a
put it in, you must put it in. Put it in, the sheen gone in. Put it in, yam gone in.
And those are fruits.
And his video was a big pot and he's just dumping food in
Making
the pot.
a soup.
But you catch his metaphor.
Double on
You dig. So now, with that now, we are not the founders of dub poetry. Saying dub poetry was on the heels of reggae in the 1970s. And the dub poets were the ones who they say couldn't sing.
Ah.
So so the dub poets usually talk their message. You know what I mean? So no, but dub poetry is musical talking. It's talk singing. You know what I mean? So then now you have the practitioners who were before us who spoke their stories. You know what I mean? And now dub poetry has evolved to not only being the Niaah Bingi pum pum, pantapa pum pum, to something that we created called Pukupu. It's called Wadis, and it was our biggest campaign. We did a campaign with Puma years ago, with Puma and Usain Bolt, and it saw us running all over the world singing Pukupu. So now, hence them thing. So here what going to happen now. No more questions. No more questions. I am putting a pin down. No more questions. So here what we're going to do now. So with this, the stick.
Can I give something else? No?
Yes. Yes, please. Please. After we show them how to use it, we're going to give 2 people to shake and to knock. So then Evie is going to play the grater. This is called a grater.
And it's an instrument used in one of our old genres called mento music.
Mento music.
And mento music influence soca and calypso. And they had this grater is a coconut. It's like Parmesan cheese. You shred things with it. It's a kitchen utensil.
Yes, and he's also playing it with a spoon.
Okay.
Here for Evie. Now these are rhythm sticks. That clap, 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 clap.
Nice.
Keep it going, keep the rhythm going, keep it going. The ones who are not playing, use your vocals to do. It's called pukupu. So you say poo pukupu 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 pukupu. It's a P, it's not a C. What is? Keep it going. What is? What is this? What is? Protest.
I ask what is.
Unrest.
I ask what is.
And one more time.
One more time.
Another system
Another system.
is put to the test. What is? Teacher teach, lawyer a law, preacher preach, police a draw. What is? What is? Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima,
Shima.
Twin Tower,
Tower.
Jamaica,
Jamaica.
Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima, Twin Tower, Jamaica. 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 Green Bay, Britain, Tivoli.
Oh, what is?
My favorite part, I know, my favorite part.
Bongo clap, pushing cat, grass cat. Bongo clap, pushing cat, grass cat. Bongo clap. All right, stop it. Stop it. You're too rude.
I do not know how much time we have left. But this has been amazing. I want to thank Everaldo Carrero. Big up Everaldo Carrero.
Geraldo.
I want to thank Sheldon Shepherd.
Give thanks, love, respect.
I want to thank the No-Maddz. It's been my absolute pleasure to be here on stage with my brethren them. And it's been a pleasure having you as an audience. Thank you
And
very,
let us
very
give
much.
Dr. Stanley Niaah an awesome round of applause.
And let me say, my favorite part of this book, my favorite piece in this book was her introduction.
Wow.
Every time I read the instruction, let me tell you this, you don't know this, but anytime I'm there anywhere in the world and I have a copy with me, I'm doing a reading or wherever, and I feel a little bit down, I do two things. Talk to my son, he's 8 years old, or I read the introduction where you write. Why the introduction stood out to me and is so inspiring for me? Because she actually read every single poem. She looked at every single artwork in the book. She went through it with a fine teeth comb. She dissected, and then she wrote a poem about what she read.
Awesome.
I am hearing this for the first time. Thank you very, very much.
Give thanks.
It's been a blessing. Me tell you, I'm a brethren them, right? Really been a pleasure for me. Thank you very much.
Follow us on the social media handles.
Yes, indeed. No-Maddz, the No-Maddz, Sheldon Shepherd, Pukapoo,
And
and I'm Culture Doctor on
Culture
Instagram, on Twitter. Thank you very much.
Love.
Awesome.
We're here, we will sign copies for you too. Love.
Yes, signed copies. Books
Beautiful.
to be signed. Albums to be signed.
Albums and CD. We'll meet you over the merch tent. Yeah, man. Love.
Yeah,
That was beautiful. Give thanks.
that was goosebumps.
Love, my brother.
Thank you
Give
very
thanks
much,
for coming.
my brother. Great.
Love. Yeah, man. Respect. Yeah, man. Give thanks. My brother. Love. Yeah, man. Give thanks
Give
for coming,
thanks,
man.
my brother. One love. That was awesome. Man.